Well, hello my fellow weebs, my name is Masterofroflness, and welcome to another vid of Hearts of Iron 4 mods. Today we'll be taking a look at the code Geass Mod, a mod that I've been looking forward to for a long time, and took a long time to actually record for, because there was just so much build up. But essentially, what is code Geass, first and foremost, for those of you who are coming in and have no idea what the hell's going on. So it's basically a, how do I even describe it? Well, it's a mech anime, I suppose, is one way to go about it. It's a mech anime where this empire tries to... Well, it's essentially, it's an empire called the Holy Britannian Empire that encompasses North America and South America that's trying to take over the world. They recently conquered Japan, and, well, through the traumatic events of what I assume to be an assassination of the main protagonist's mom, well, he's sent over to Japan, and then afterwards, he ends up getting caught in the middle of a invasion by the Holy Britannian Empire against Japan. Then they colonize it, call it Area 11, and that's where the anime takes place, essentially. Oh, and he has a superpower that allows him to mind control. It's really cool, actually, and to see this like main character rise from such a really shitty situation to one of like godliness is really cool. I think the greatest part about the anime is the main character sort of like outsmarting his opponents, and then in addition to this, seeing the plans that go on in his head, because he is a very intelligent guy. So it's always nice to see like this dude who isn't very strong physically being able to outwit and outmaneuver his opponents. Now, essentially in this mod, you start off with the Holy Britannian Empire sort of like building up, so to speak. So you have Charles V. Britannia over here, or Z Britannia. I don't know. I actually looked on Google. It's like Charles Z Britannia, which weirded me out. But essentially, you start off in North America, have a little bit of Central America, and then the tip of South America, the top of it, right over here. And then afterwards, you can develop the way you want to. Now, I did say there was mechs in this anime, and there is mechs in this Hearts of Iron 4 mod. Now, the mechs are called Knightmare Frames, and essentially what they are basically giant mech suits on roller skates. And so they're very fast, they're very deadly, and they can be armed with basically missile launchers, rocket launchers, machine guns, and swords and bayonets and whatever the hell you want, really. So in this mod you can play around with them as well. Unfortunately, there's no model for them, so if you wanted to see the Knightmare Frames in action fighting against infantry, you're not gonna see that. Instead, you have a World War II Sherman, so I hope you guys enjoy World War II Shermans, because that's what you're gonna see. But they're really fast Shermans, actually. Like, some of the models, they go to 60 kilometers an hour, so they just go whoosh in open terrain. Damn, they go fucking whoosh. The actual show themselves, the Knightmare Frames are really cool, actually. I think they're one of my favorite mech designs currently. The only ones that really kind of like trump it would be Neon Genesis Evangelion, but that's not really mechs, but that's a story reason. Anyway, essentially, besides building up your technology, that's really about it. Besides the mech technology, there's nothing else to it in terms of the technology tree. So if you guys were hoping for that, that's not really there. The national focuses are very interesting. So, and essentially, you can divvy up your different territories into areas. So, Area 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. Area 11, which the show takes place in, for the most part, is Japan. And so, your goal is to conquer different territories and then make them into areas, so to speak. So, the biggest problem right now, and what I had for most of this game, is probably just build-up. There's a lot of build-up that you have to do as the Holy Britannian Empire. A lot of build-up. And there's this resource known as Sakura-dite, which kind of keeps your mech production in check. So it was very hard to actually get like the first few Knightmare Frames going. And while I was basically building up for a majority of this, France and Germany and Russia and Poland were just in their own like sort of war over there. In the East Asia front, the map is obviously modeled from that of the Code Geass universe. So you have over here the Chinese Federation, which is made up of Mongolia and all the different like East Asian countries put together. In fact, in the anime itself, India gets invaded and then conquered. Well, in the anime it doesn't happen, but beforehand, India does get invaded. There's no national focuses for China, however, so you don't really get to see any of that happen. National focuses for the Holy Britannian Empire include invading South America, which we do end up doing. There's just a lot of buildup that we do have to essentially get through, unfortunately, so there is that. But you know what, I'm going to go ahead and speed this on over. So Masterofroflness in the editing room, can you at 5 minutes show off the war right over here with South America? Yeah, there we go, look at that war. So basically, after a few, I guess, hours of build up and stuff, I'm able to get enough Knightmare Frames to be able to stand up against all the South American countries, and fortunately they're all in a giant confederation, so I don't have to worry about dealing with one after the other. I could just fight them all at the same time. And I'm not gonna lie, I pretty much kicked the shit out of Brazil just almost instantly. Like, the Knightmare Frames are so powerful. They're not as powerful as the Space Marines in that Warhammer 40k mod that I played way back, but they are definitely really fucking powerful, actually. And it's the fact also that I think the other countries, the AIs either don't get the Knightmare Frames, they don't have the resources to produce the Knightmare Frames, or they, I don't know, they're just fucking stupid. So they're just dying in goddamn droves over here while I'm continuing to tech up with my mech suits. It does take a while. Eventually you'll be able to get this guy named Lloyd, who speeds up the Knightmare frame production by quite a bit, or the research for it for quite a bit, actually. And there are national focuses that help you out in being able to research Knightmare Frames more, way faster and stuff like that. So that's always nice, at least. Besides that, then we have other national focuses, but a large part of the focuses that are directed at China are unfortunately not working. So for a large part of this recording sesh, I tried to see which of the national focuses would work against China, and none of them did. So I was really fucking pissed off, actually, when that happened. Holy fuck. There was this one focus that allowed me to actually naval invade a couple of free Marine troops, which was instrumental in pushing out the Brazilians, so that was always A tier material. And like I said, you don't get really anything else, so it's just a lot of like build up, and no new stuff really on the horizon. There is also another focus tree that I tried to get called the it's basically a focus tree that revolves around the main protagonist of the anime, that being woooosh Britannia, and well, he's unfortunately it just doesn't fucking work. Like, I conquered Japan and I made it into Area 11, spoiler alert by the way, and still it doesn't work. And the Chinese Federation, it also doesn't work. So you're left with giant branches that just don't work. And then there's national focuses for the EU, and then there's national focuses for the Middle East. At least the Middle East national focuses work. You get to go to war with Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iran straight away. In fact, in the anime, Britannia is currently in the midst of, fighting the Middle East Federation, which is basically Iran combined with a couple of Central Asian countries. And they have these like giant hold on a second, before I say some stupid shit that somebody's gonna correct me on. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so it is, alright, Palestine, Yemen, United Arab Emirates, Iraq, Jordan, Oman, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Lebanon, Qatar, Bahrain, and what is this? Israel. Okay. Wow. Holy shit. These fucking ads. Holy fuck. I'm so glad you guys can't actually hear this shit. But yeah, it encompasses all those nations. It should also encompass Iran. Otherwise, like, one of these nations were able to gobble up Iran. But essentially, these guys, they get these giant caterpillar, like, Knightmare Frames. And these Knightmare Frames, they're said in the anime to be inefficient and outdated. However, reading up on the wiki, because I was bored shitless, they said that in the universe itself, these Knightmare Frames are good for digging into the sand and then shooting out, and then firing out long-range rockets and scurrying away. The problem was just close-range combat. So these guys were actually viable in universe, just they were big caterpillar things, so nobody was scared of them. And that's really it for the national focuses. There's really like nothing else to it besides that. As you can see, now we're getting on to should be the, well, actually I'll talk about this at the 10-minute mark. But what was it? That's really about it for the national focuses. After you get to war with the Middle East, nothing else really works. Not the UN stuff, not the woooosh stuff. There's a couple of economic bonuses and standard air bonuses and naval bonuses that you can do to speed up research. There is obviously national focuses that are dedicated to the mech suits, the Knightmare Frames, that speed up your research, and then that's it. So there's not a lot of content to explore, and if you're going to play with a faction, you gotta play as the Holy Britannian Empire if you want to play with those Knightmare Frames. But I think the Knightmare Frames are cool enough that if you want to just play a standard game of Hearts of Iron 4 with some mech suits that go wee, you should definitely play this mod over here. Now we're at the 10-minute mark, so that should be when the Japanese start to so we start to fight the Japanese and stuff. Now, unfortunately, I'm really retarded when it comes to naval invasions. Like, I mean, I had to ask Orb to help me out and stuff. I'm really incompetent when it comes to that type of stuff. And so, what happened was, I basically just didn't know how to naval invade. Eventually I learned how to island hop, and I go from one island to the other, and then I get to Japan, and then once I get to Japan I'm like, yo, what's up? And then when I'm in Japan I basically murder them all with Knightmare Frames, kind of like how it was in the anime. And yeah, it was just a fucking slaughter and get the fuck out, really. It was absolutely crazy. What else was interesting about this mod? Trying to really think, actually, because there's just large periods of time where nothing is happening. Unfortunately, it's one of those cases. Maybe I should really very much play more active sort of mods. What I'm really looking forward to is some mods like the Wolfenstein mod, which recently is kicked back up into development, and we'll probably take a look at that soon enough. But for now, though, that would be, I guess, pretty much it. The reason why I really wanted Lelouch most of all, these like focuses on Lelouch, is mostly because it does open up a lot of advantages for Holy Britannian Empire, while also just being a cool like little scenario. In terms of the different mech suits you can get access to, there's about like 5 different models, and they're just like basic stat upgrades, really. There's no like anti-air like Knightmare Frame or anything like that. There's just like, you know, it just goes down the list really till you get to the 7th generation mech. So you can't get stuff like the Lancelot, for example, some of the cooler tech. Now later on I do end up going to war with the Chinese Federation, and then I land in Korea. And then I don't know, I just got really bored, actually. Especially since, I didn't want to, get into a long, drawn-out conflict without any national focuses to really go on here. So that's really about it. The Holy Britannian Empire conquering much of the Japanese territories of various island chains around Japan. And then, on top of this, conquering Japan itself. We conquered South America, and we had a pretty good time all in all. I think if we wanted to really get to anime standards, we'd have to conquer the Middle East Federation, and then afterwards conquer, like, France, I believe, and Spain. I don't actually know where their territories end in EU, but I do know that they fight in the EU for a large portion of the anime. Now, besides that, there are some new portraits for some of the factions. So, for example, Japan and the Middle East. No, actually, I don't know about that. I know that Japan gets a new portrait. It's one of the main characters' dad. He's a cool dude. So, yeah. Anyway, see you guys next time. Bye-bye.